Hello there, and welcome to another episode of A British Man in Japan with me, James. Today, on this rather hot day, I thought I'd show you around my home in Japan. So, follow me. Come on. Hello, welcome to the first room of the house. I say room, it's really just an entrance hall. Oh, it's nice to get out of the sun. It's very humid here, so you feel the heat more than perhaps you would in places like the UK where it's less humid. But anyway, back to the entrance hall. So basically, the key feature of these rooms, which are in almost all Japanese homes, not just houses, flats, many restaurants as well, they have these two layers. This lower layer, which is for your outdoor shoes, and this upper layer for your indoor shoes, or in my case socks, because none of the slippers fit me. And the idea being you keep the dirt from outside in this sort of area and you don't bring it into the house. It's not something you see in many British homes or in other places around the world, for example, but it has got its benefits for hygiene. It can be a bit of a pain if you've got to nip in and out a lot, say if you've got a big load, but you know, there are pros and cons. So let me know what you think in the comments about this idea, and we'll move on. So, welcome to the living room. This is where I spend most of my relaxation time, as I am actually doing now, having a quick refreshing drink. This oranaminshi is, trying to describe what it tastes like. It's a bit like Calpol, but you don't have to worry about the side effects. At least I hope not, I haven't had any yet. But this is the living room, and as you'll probably be able to see, it's not too dissimilar from any standard living room anywhere, really. You know, sofa, TV, coffee table. It has everything I need. You know, I can watch my films, play my games. Yeah, and it's a nice little space. But perhaps one little interesting feature is that it is actually not an entirely closed off room. As you'll see shortly, the kitchen, living room and dining room all make up a sort of open plan room, which is a style that's very popular here in Japan. Many homes utilise that sort of design, and it's also becoming popular around the world. And in the UK, various people are converting their homes into that style. It does mean it's very easy to go grab a snack or a drink. Perhaps you could argue that if the smell from cooking wafts over, but I quite like it. It's not the style I'm accustomed to. Back home, I have separate kitchen, but I can see the merits of it, and it's nice. But I'm going to finish this, and then should we go have a look at the kitchen? So welcome to the kitchen. Kitchen, very important room in the house. It's where this monster gets filled, and this is where we do our preparation for food. It's pretty standard at first glance, but let me show you a couple of little sort of nifty features that you might not have at home. This little compartment here is a little mini dishwasher, which we're quite lucky to get because they're not so common in Japan. Unless you're lucky enough to have quite a big house, which most people aren't here, you don't tend to get one. So this sort of little small one is quite a little handy feature, because I hate washing up, as I'm sure many of you watching do. We have obviously a gas hob, which is new for me, much better than electric, I have to say. But that's pretty standard. It's a bit weird, it takes quite a while to turn on, but that's probably unique to this. I don't think that's a feature found amongst others in Japan. And it's got this cool little nifty grill compartment that comes out here. And this is kind of designed for fish and things like that. People eat a lot of fish here, as I'm sure you're aware. But you can use it for other bits and bobs. But you will notice something that should be here, which is actually where we keep our pans. An oven. Now, ovens are not a feature that you find very often in Japanese homes, because traditional Japanese food basically is almost never cooked in an oven. Unlike in Europe, for example, lots of food is cooked in an oven. So we had to improvise a little bit, and we got ourselves one of these. This is a combination microwave oven by Hitachi, if you're interested. It has microwave oven, grill, all the sort of bits you need, and various sort of little programs for like toast and whatnot. which is great. I haven't noticed any difference really between that and a standard oven. The final product tastes just as good, in my opinion at least. We've got this nice little fridge here. I say little, it's actually quite a big fridge, but it's freshly stocked, as you can maybe see, because we've just been shopping. One little feature which I haven't seen before is that it opens from both sides, so there you go. I guess that means you can place it anywhere really, and it's accessible, which is very important. You always got to be able to get into the fridge. We've got a freezer compartment in here full of random bits, and this sort of little cooler, I guess. It's not as cool as the fridge, but it's good for vegetables, and we put a couple of drinks and things in there. Moving along, we've got the recycling. I'm glad to say in Japan they do a fair bit of recycling. We've got papers and card, we've got bottles, glass bottles that is, and cans, plastic bottles and plastic. There's the basics, which is good. You know, recycling is good and important these days. Well, it was always good and important, but we didn't know it. But now we know it. We've got a lot of rice from various sources. We eat a lot of rice, as you can probably imagine. Probably 50% of Japanese food is rice-based. The other 50% is noodle-based. In the same way, that a lot of European food is dough-based and pasta-based, etc. But this little cool shelving unit, it's kind of handy. We can get to things pretty easily. We've got a rice cooker. Now, this is something you don't see very often in British kitchens, at least. I can't say for the rest of the world, but this basically makes it a lot easier to cook rice. It has this little sort of pot inside it. You chuck your rice in, you chuck the water in, down, bap. It's about an hour, I think, and you've got some perfectly cooked rice. It also keeps it warm if you end up, the rest of the meal takes a bit longer than you'd expect, or if you want to save a bit for later. A lot of people, I think, make it a big batch in the morning and they can dip into it throughout the day. This one's a little small for that, but it's perfect for us. There's only two of us. And yeah, so that's the kitchen really. I don't think there's anything else interesting. There's this little hatch down here, which is sort of, again, a bit like a cool space. This is really just random storage at the moment. It is, I suppose, sort of like a pantry type thing. So you could put things you want to keep cool, but you don't need to be as cool as in a fridge. But we don't really have anything, so we've got some boxes in there. But that's it really. I can't think of anything else that's interesting for you, so let's move on to the not the living room, we've just done that. Let's move on to the dining room. And lastly, we have the dining area, I suppose, rather than dining room, as it is all one room. But this is where we dine, hence the name. There's not much here. This is probably the smallest area. We've got a little sort of cacti, or I think it's a cacti, I'm not quite sure, some plant. There's a little plant here on the windowsill. Yeah, this was just a simple IKEA job. I think it's pretty good. Looks nice, comfy seats. It's got a little sort of cushion. Yeah, that's all there is to this room really. I'm afraid it's not the most exciting. The router's down there, and there's some insect repellent. That's about it. Let's move on to the tatami room. Welcome to the tatami room, named after the tatami flooring. Now this sort of room is quite common in sort of medium to large size Japanese homes and flats. You have to be careful because if you're renting especially, you do have to pay to repair them, and it's quite expensive if you do damage them. And they also damage quite easily, which is a lovely combination. But it's a traditional type of flooring. It's kind of a bit more comfy than a wooden floor. Personally, I think the carpet's more comfortable, but it does look nice, and that is something that cannot be denied. They are very visually appealing. We haven't quite decided what we're going to do with our room. partially because it is off camera at the moment, but I'll show you in a second. It is full of cardboard boxes from when we moved, which we haven't quite been able to dispose of fully yet. We're sort of gradually getting rid of them. There's a collection service that picks some up each week, and we're getting through them. But once we have got rid of all of them, we are thinking of perhaps using this sort of a quiet sort of reading room, get a couple of bean bags, you know, we can sort of chill, maybe listen to some music quietly or read books, things like that. It's quite nice because the doors can slide shut, so you sort of seal yourself off in this little space, and it's quite peaceful. It's actually got quite good sound, probably because the floors are somewhat sound absorbent. But yeah, that's it for this room. Now, the bathroom. Welcome to the bathroom. Now, the bathroom in Japan is made up of sort of 2 rooms, really, so you should call it bathrooms, perhaps. But here is where we have the washing machine, whereas in the UK usually they're in the kitchen, but here they're and in fact actually I think in a lot of the world they're not in the kitchen, and they're in a sort of more laundry room or this sort of void before the bathroom proper. But one fun feature of this washing machine is that it's not only does it wash your clothes, it's also your best friend. And you might think, oh, okay, it's got a pre-programmed message, but you'll find it actually has multiple messages. I mean, I've no idea what it says, but it sounds very friendly, so that's a plus in my opinion. Maybe all washing machines should be friendly. Let me know in the comments what you think of that. Should washing machines talk to you? I think yes. Over here we have a kind of fairly standard sinks. One thing which I didn't point out in the kitchen, which a lot of the sinks here seem to have, is this sort of nifty, you know, shower head type fixture. You know, so you can whip it on, you can kind of squirt anywhere, which is very handy for cleaning, because often, you know, when it just goes straight down, you sort of have to slosh it up and get the sides, but here you can just sort of spray it all off, and it's somewhat powerful, so it's quite handy. You've got, you know, shaver plugs, which are actually the same as any other plug here, but they have a different wattage. Lights for here, and there's also a little fun feature is that it heats the mirror, which helps with condensation, obviously. But then, I know what you really want to see. You want to see where this gets washed. This gets washed in here. Now, this is quite interesting because it's very different to certainly UK style bathrooms. For a start, it's more of a wet room, so you can kind of splash water anywhere and it doesn't matter. But the bath is not used how people use a bath in Europe, at least, in Japan. So what people do is the bath is for relaxing, so people don't wash in the bath. So they will wash with the shower, or you can also get these sort of, if you want to be a bit more primitive, you can have these sort of little bucket things and just chuck water at yourself, which is actually what I do, because it saves water a bit. You can just pull the water out of the bath, chuck it on, and then the bath heats up to a set temperature and fills and stops all by itself. It's all automated, which is handy. You just there's a little sort of control panel here, and you just basically hit that button and it does the business. And then there's a little speaker in the kitchen, and that speaker calls you and basically says your bath's ready, get in. It sort of maintains a nice warm temperature. You can change that. We have it on 41, I believe, which is a bit toasty, so you sometimes have to have a drink of water with it, but it is quite relaxing, certainly before bed. The shower itself is not really that interesting. It's just a shower, and guess what, shampoo is exactly the same, and so is soap. But that's probably it for the bathroom. Now let's move on. Oh, you've caught me in the most important room of the house, I'd say. The Kazi. Now, don't worry, I wasn't really using it. But what I will show you There's one little unique thing. Now I know many of you will be very excited here thinking, oh, he's going to show the squirting tots. I don't have a Toto toilet. Unfortunately, I will get one. I know Emmy's protesting that they're expensive, but it's worth it, trust me. I got to use one when we came here on holiday, and you know, that region has never been that clean. But one feature that this toilet does have, although it doesn't have a Toto, you know, it's just a standard, it's got a little cushion on it, and that's a feature. This is an interesting feature, and I actually think this is a very good idea, and I've never seen these outside Japan. Please let me know in the comments if you know anywhere else where you can find these. But basically what happens, you do your business. I haven't done any, don't worry. And then you flush. I'll do a small flush to not use too much water. Voila! So it flushes, and once it refills the tank, the water first goes through the tap. So it's not coming down here, it's clean water. It comes down, and then there's a little hole in here which goes into the tank. But while it's refilling, rather than just using that water purely to refill, you can wash your hands with it. Not a bad idea. Saves water. That water's going to be used anyway. May as well serve a second function. I don't know about you, but I think that's a good idea. I'd nick that if you're a toilet manufacturer in another country. Nick this idea, sharpish. So now we find ourselves on the second floor. This is the floor where the sleeping happens. If you're a family member or friend, this is where you'll sleep. This is the guest bedroom. It's a bit barren at the moment, I admit. It's got a bed, and that's kind of it. It's got a set of step ladder and some tissues. What more could you need, really? It even has a window with curtains. And look, you can get changed with the curtains open. If you look in here, you'll find it's not the best solution, but it's the one I've got at the moment for my books. We haven't managed to get a bookshelf just yet, but when I do, I am planning on doing a bit more of a hey, look what books I have sort of video. That shouldn't be too long. We are planning on ordering it pretty soon, but you know, money and Corona and all that, various excuses get in the way of spending money. It's very easy to do that. But that's kind of it for this room. Let's move on to the master bedroom. Oh, you caught me napping. Sorry about that. I don't usually nap on the job, but when I do, I'm always fully dressed so I can get back into whatever it was I was doing straight away. But here you find me in the master bedroom, which, as you just saw, is mainly used for sleeping. Which probably isn't a surprise to you, because that is usually what bedrooms across the world are used for. But this bedroom is pretty nice. It's a good size. I've got a nice sort of comfy bed, another IKEA job. This addition to the family is very welcome and gets a lot of use these days. It's starting to get a bit toasty. The other perhaps interesting feature of this room is that it has another room. Now, it has no light in here, so it's a bit hard to see, but it's basically just a space with nothing in it. Apart from a box, a bag, two other bags and a suitcase. And that's kind of it for that room. But yeah, this is obviously the bedroom where we sleep. I sleep there, Amy sleeps there. You can tell that because that bedside table is far tidier than that bedside table. But on that bedside table, you'll find the third member of the household. Alexa, say hello.
Hi.
And that's it for this room, really. Should we go check out the studio? Oh, hello there, and welcome to my studio. This is the final room of the tour, and this is probably where I spend, I'd say, about 50% of my life at the moment. This is where all the music gets made. This is where videos such as the one you're watching right now get edited, all on this machine. I brought this all the way from the UK. I've had this for 3 years now. It's never let me down so far, touch wood. And yeah, this is sort of where the magic happens, I guess. If you come have a closer look, you can have a look what I've got here. I've got a little sort of control surface, which is good for mixing. I've got keyboard, obviously, some pads for playing percussion things in. Kemper, which is very nice for recording guitar. That's a recent addition. I've been after one of them for years and finally got one. I'm quite happy with it. And then if you look over here, you've got the guitar and bass, which are on their own at the moment, but there is space for expansion. Who knows, maybe someday soon. And obviously over here, I've got an electronic drum kit. I can't play drums, but I'm learning. I thought it'd be handy if I can do drums, bass and guitar. It kind of covers all the bases, if you know what I mean. And that's it really. I hope you've enjoyed this video. It's a bit different to the last one, as I'm sure you agree. If you've got any ideas for future videos, please let me know in the comments below, and I'll be trying to get up to posting a bit more regularly. I know there was about 2 weeks between this one and the last one, but yeah, that's it for now. Please hit the like button if you enjoyed this video, and even if you didn't, you may as well, there's no harm in it. And you can always subscribe by hitting the subscribe button and then hit the bell icon, and you'll receive notifications when the next video is up. Not quite sure what that'll be at this point, but I've got a few ideas. I'm sure I'll post on social media, links below. And yeah, until next time, I'm a British man in Japan. Thank you for watching.